Picture a delivery driver, right?
Right.
He's just standing outside your front gate.
Yeah, you see it all the time.
Exactly. And he's been looking at his phone for, I don't know, 4 minutes.
Right.
So is he waiting for a customer code? Or is he, like, precisely timing the mechanical cycle of your security gate?
And that is the exact question we need to be asking.
Right. Well, welcome to today's deep dive. We are looking at a stack of incredibly revealing sources today.
We really are.
Specifically, we've got a highly detailed security activity and behavioral monitoring report, along with its accompanying legal evidence dossier. And this was compiled in April 2026.
Yeah, it's a very robust data set.
It is. It covers 78 distinct recorded incidents of suspicious activity at a residential compound.
And what it reveals is just, well, it's eye-opening.
Right, because it shows that a security threat doesn't start with a broken window or a tripped alarm. It starts hidden in plain sight,
Yeah.
sometimes weeks before the actual breach.
Exactly. The data we are looking at represents a fundamental shift in how we need to understand residential vulnerability.
Right.
We are moving entirely away from the concept of random urban loitering or crimes of opportunity.
It's not random at all.
Not at all. What this dossier documents is structured systematic vulnerability mapping. It is pre-operational surveillance.
Wow.
And it operates by its own very specific, highly disciplined rulebook.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the first thing the data does is completely shatter the cliche of, the nighttime prowler creeping around in the shadows at 2 a.m.
Right, the classic movie burglar.
Exactly. If we want to understand how this surveillance works, we first have to look at where and when these actors are focusing their attention.
And the physical locations they target really flip traditional home security advice on its head.
I mean, the numbers on that are stark. Homeowners obsess over heavy-duty front doors and internal smart locks.
Oh, constantly.
But the threat actors are almost entirely focused on the perimeter choke points. The primary access point targeted in the data is overwhelmingly the vehicle gate.
Yeah, it was involved in 89.7% of all recorded incidents.
That's crazy. That's 70 out of the 78 responses.
It's a huge majority. The entry gate follows at 57.7%, then the perimeter wall at 23.1%.
And finally, internal windows at just 11.5%.
Right. So almost 90% of their focus is on the vehicle gate.
And the timing of the surveillance is just as counterintuitive. The peak activity window is not the dead of night.
No, it's not.
It's right in the middle of the commuter rush, like 17.0 to 19.0, 5 to 7 p.m.
Yeah, broad daylight, basically. Now, there are secondary peaks.
Right.
Like in the early morning, around 6:0 to 7:30 a.m., and late at night after 10:0 p.m. But that early evening block is the absolute densest period of hostile observation.
And that timing is a highly calculated tactical choice, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. What's fascinating here is how they are exploiting human routine cycles.
Right. I kept thinking about this in terms of, cognitive load.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Because at 5 p.m., a resident's cognitive load is just maxed out. You are transitioning from work brain to home brain.
It's hard.
Exactly. You're tired. You're checking your emails one last time in the passenger seat. You're navigating the driveway, or, you're wrangling kids in the back.
You certainly aren't scanning the perimeter for subtle threats.
Right. The insight here is that threat actors aren't just attacking the physical gate. They are exploiting the resident's cognitive transition state.
That completely aligns with the behavioral analysis in the report. They are optimizing for the exact moments when your attention is divided.
Wow.
Because when that vehicle gate opens, it acts like a stage curtain going up.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Yeah, for a few seconds at a time, the inner workings of the secure compound are totally exposed. And to capture those few seconds, these actors are utilizing specific mobile platforms.
Right. The dossier points out that 77% of the vehicles observed in these logs were two-wheelers, so motorcycles or scooters.
And they aren't just commuting past the property. The report details them executing what they call slow rolls. Yeah, driving at just 10 to 20 kilometers per hour, or making repeated tactical U-turns right near the entry points to maximize their observation window.
Plus, the visibility of those vehicles is deliberately compromised, right? Because in 68% of the cases, the license plates had low visibility.
Yeah, they achieve that low visibility through various means. They might obscure the plate with mud or disable the plate illumination light.
Oh, wow. Just making it super hard for cameras.
Exactly. Or they just move just fast enough at an angle to blur the image on standard low frame rate security cameras.
Which is so intentional. And the dossier flagged one specific anomaly in the data that shows just how sophisticated this gets.
The TN-75 vehicle.
Yes. They identified a vehicle registered as TN75, which designates Tamil Nadu operating out of state in Kerala.
Right.
The report flagged this as a potential burner vehicle for surveillance.
And using an interstate burner vehicle complicates everything for the defending security team. It deliberately introduces jurisdictional friction.
Because if a local automated plate number recognition system, an APNR, scans that plate,
Querying an out-of-state database often causes administrative delays.
man, that is clever.
It is. Furthermore, procuring and staging an out-of-state asset demonstrates a really high level of pre-planning.
Definitely.
It provides a mobile reconnaissance platform that cannot be easily traced back to a local address, which allows for a clean disengagement if the operatives feel they've been compromised.
But I'm struggling to understand the logistics of this, though.
How so?
Well, if they are staging these out-of-state bikes right at the front gate during the busy 5 p.m. commuter rush in broad daylight, surely the security guards are noticing strangers loitering right in front of them.
This is where we get into the behavioral threat assessment scale used throughout the dossier.
Okay.
To avoid detection, these actors employ what the report categorizes as Factor 9 behaviors.
Factor 9, yeah.
Yeah, Factor 9 encompasses social camouflage. This was found in 48.7% of the data entries.
So almost half the time.
Exactly. It involves hiding in plain sight by mimicking normal, everyday urban activity. They provide the security guards' brains with an easy, dismissible explanation for their presence.
I see. So the delivery mimicry is a perfect example of that.
Precisely.
Because the report details actors using standard food delivery bags as props. The bag is nothing more than a visual alibi.
It gives them a socially acceptable excuse to stand right next to a security gate for extended periods.
And while they are standing there holding that prop bag, what are they doing? They are gathering highly specific mechanical intelligence.
Yeah, they need to know the exact delta between a resident's vehicle clearing the photoelectric sensor and the heavy gate fully locking.
Like, is it 3 seconds? Is it 7 seconds?
Yeah, right. Because that 4-second difference dictates whether a tailgating breach is possible.
A tailgating breach, meaning an unauthorized motorcycle slips in right behind a legitimate resident.
Without getting crushed by the gate, yes.
Terrifying. And if they aren't pretending to be delivery drivers, they're pretending to be your neighbors.
Yeah, the Factor 9 data also covers exercise masking.
Right. Individuals posing as morning walkers or joggers, they pause near the boundaries, pretending to, stretch a hamstring or catch their breath.
And while they are stretching, they are mapping the compound walls.
Which is so sneaky.
The behavioral adaptation goes even deeper when you look at how they interact with surveillance infrastructure. The moment these so-called joggers spot a CCTV camera, they employ masking gestures.
Masking gestures? Like what?
They will suddenly reach up to touch their ear, adjust the brim of a hat, or scratch the back of their neck.
So they are naturally breaking their facial profile so the camera lens can't capture a clean, identifying shot.
Exactly. And it's deployed seamlessly. To a casual observer, it looks like a completely natural human movement.
Wow.
They also frequently use their smartphones. They pull the device out to appear as though they are texting.
But they're actually holding the phone at an angle that blocks their face from the camera.
Right. Or even using the device to secretly record the security guard's patrol patterns.
All right. Okay, I have to push back on this a little bit.
Sure.
Because as someone who lives in a city, goes for walks, definitely stops to stretch, and absolutely pulls out my phone if I'm lost.
You're sounding pretty suspicious right now.
Right. But seriously, how do we distinguish a legitimate jogger stretching their hamstring from a surveillance operative? Are we just assuming everyone on the sidewalk is mapping the property?
That is the exact dilemma security personnel face daily. It's tough.
So what's the tell?
Well, the dossier provides a framework for distinguishing the two, relying on what they term contextual inconsistency.
Contextual inconsistency.
Yeah. It requires looking for a deviation from the environmental baseline. A legitimate pedestrian generally has a forward-facing gaze and a consistent rhythmic pace.
Right. They're just trying to get from point A to point B.
Exactly. But a surveillance actor, even when pretending to exercise, has erratic pacing. They specifically decelerate when they hit the primary access point.
Oh, I see.
And their gaze isn't on the road ahead. It is fixed with high intensity on the windows, the gate mechanisms, or the camera placements.
So it's the combination of the markers, the specific slowdown at the choke point, the fixed stare, and the ear touching the moment they enter the camera's field of view.
Exactly. And sometimes they manipulate the environment to ensure no one is looking at them at all.
Oh, like the stage distractions.
Yes, the report details the use of stage distractions. There was a specific incident involving two females who stopped in the middle of the road directly outside the compound.
To adjust their jewelry.
Yeah, adjusting jeweler.
Which is wild, because spending 5 minutes fixing a necklace in the street forces approaching cars to slow down. It literally creates a temporary traffic joke point.
It does, but the traffic choke point is secondary. The primary goal is psychological.
Psychological, how so?
It draws the gaze of the security guards and the pan-tilt zoom cameras toward the obvious, slightly unusual distraction.
Oh, I see.
This leverages the two-actor rule. While the entire security apparatus is focused on the women in the street, a secondary actor is quietly mapping the perimeter wall.
Or looking into the compound from a completely different, unmonitored angle.
Precisely. They are actively directing the security system's attention away from the real threat.
Which perfectly leads us to the next phase of the operation. Once they've used those props and distractions to become effectively invisible, what are they actually looking for during that window of opportunity?
That brings us to what the dossier categorizes as Factor 10.
Right, Factor 10, inventory and peering.
Yes. This is the dominant threat pattern. It appears in 80.8% of all responses.
That is a massive chunk of the data.
It is. Factor 10 is the core of pre-operational reconnaissance. The actors are building a comprehensive database of physical and operational vulnerabilities.
And within that specific dataset, 84.1% involved window peering.
Which isn't just looking to see if the lights are on.
Right. They are mapping the interior lines of sight. Like, can the security guard see the side return from his desk? Are the alarm panel indicator lights showing armed or disarmed?
Exactly. The data also shows 63.5% involved asset inventorying.
Looking through the gate to count parked vehicles, identify high-value equipment left unsecured, or even log the presence of guard dogs.
And then 33.3% of the time, they are conducting wall mapping.
So scanning the perimeter wall for protruding bricks, utility boxes, or structural weaknesses that could serve as footholds for a climbing breach.
They are measuring the physical tolerances of the property. But, the single most critical insight in this entire dossier isn't just the cataloging itself.
What is it?
It is the environmental context in which the cataloging occurs.
And here's where it gets really interesting, right? Because 96.9% of these behavioral checklists noted that the surveillance was synchronized with environmental triggers.
That synchronicity is the defining line. It separates random public curiosity from targeted, hostile surveillance.
I was thinking about this like a sports team studying game tape.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
Because they don't care about watching a static, empty building when nothing is happening. They're waiting for a trigger.
Right. A light flipping on inside, a delivery arriving, a resident's car pulling up to the gate.
And they increase their focus during those exact seconds
Yeah.
because they want to observe the flow of the security protocols.
They want to see if the guard physically verifies the driver or just hits a button.
Yeah. They want to see how long it takes for a resident to get from the gate to their front door.
Exactly. And if we connect this synchronicity to the broader strategy, we have to examine the risk analysis matrix provided in the dossier.
Okay, let's look at that.
The matrix categorizes all these events from low to critical risk. This synchronized pattern building, these Factor 10 behaviors, falls squarely into the medium risk threshold.
Which accounts for 71.6% of all recorded incidents. But I'll be honest, medium risk sounds incredibly benign.
It does.
It doesn't sound like a four-alarm fire that requires immediate intervention.
And the terminology is deceptive, which is exactly why it is the most dangerous category to ignore.
How so?
Well, low risk is just general public presence. It's the unavoidable background noise of an urban environment. High and critical risks are immediate, obvious physical threats.
Right, someone actually trying to break in.
But medium risk is the intelligence gathering phase. It requires continuous monitoring and multiple log entries because it is the absolute necessary precursor to a physical break-in.
Wow.
If a security team ignores the medium risk behaviors because no one is actively climbing the wall yet, they are actively inviting the critical risk events.
Because by the time it escalates to a critical risk,
Yeah.
the actors have already done their homework.
Exactly.
They know your blind spots, they know your gate timing, and they know your guard rotation.
At that point, the breach becomes a mere formality.
That is chilling. But the dossier also documents what happens when the mask slips, doesn't it?
It does.
Because so far, we've discussed passive, heavily masked surveillance, blending in. But there's a smaller, highly volatile subset of the data where these actors actively test the psychological and physical boundaries of the property.
Yes. The dossier classifies this escalation under Factor 12.
Factor 12, direct threats and hallucinating gestures.
Right. This accounts for roughly 16.7% of the logs. These are the behaviors that push incidents into those high and critical risk categories, making up 9% and 3% of the data, respectively.
One of the most striking behaviors documented here is CCTV defiance.
That one is very interesting.
Yeah, the report notes younger males intentionally standing in view of the cameras and flipping the middle finger directly at the lens.
Yep.
And on the surface, that just looks like juvenile rebellion, right? Or random street harassment.
It does look like that. But tactically, it is a highly effective diagnostic tool.
Diagnostic.
Yes, it functions as a stress test for the entire monitoring ecosystem.
Wait, a stress test to see if anyone is actually watching?
Precisely that. By performing an overt, hostile act directed at the lens, they are forcing a diagnostic response.
Oh.
They are checking the difference between an unmonitored network video recorder drive and a live monitored security operations center.
That is so bold. So if they flip off the camera and no alarm sounds, no guard comes out to challenge them, and no two-way audio speaker issues a warning,
They have just confirmed that the system is passive.
which increases their operational confidence that they can return later and execute a breach without immediate intervention.
Exactly.
So even the rudeness is weaponized intelligence gathering.
It's all part of the process.
And then the data dives into what it calls erratism.
Yes, the incident on April 13th.
Right. There was an incident logged on April 13th involving minors loitering near the perimeter, suspected of being under the influence of substances.
The report describes them exhibiting hallucinating gestures and shadowboxing against thin air.
Yeah. Sudden lunges, nonsensical hand signals, erratic pivoting. To a casual observer, it looks completely disorganized.
It really does.
Which made me wonder, does acting erratic and shadowboxing actually serve a tactical purpose? Or is it just random, substance-induced chaos spilling over near the property?
This raises an important question. It's actually a combination of both, utilizing unpredictability as a weapon.
Okay, explain that.
Well, while some of it may stem from genuine substance impairment, it practically functions as a physical stress test of the perimeter's automated defenses.
How does lunging at a gate help them?
Most modern sliding gates feature pressure-sensitive auto-reverse mechanisms or photoelectric beams to prevent crushing cars.
Right, safety features.
By suddenly lunging a foot or an arm into the track, they are testing the sensitivity of those safety sensors.
Oh, they want to know, if I stick my foot in the track during a breach, will the gate quietly stop and reverse? Or will a tamper alarm immediately sound?
Exactly. They are mapping the mechanical fail-safes.
That is brilliant and terrifying.
Furthermore, they are testing the human response protocol.
Because if someone is acting wildly outside the gate, will the security guards remain inside the secure compound and observe? Or will they step outside the perimeter to intervene?
Right. And if the guards step out, the actors just successfully force them to expose their numbers, their physical equipment, and their defensive posture.
So they are actively probing the system, demanding a reaction.
And sometimes that probing is entirely physical.
Like the incident on April 24th. The dossier details an incident that involved direct physical contact, someone actually touching and probing the gate locks to check for mechanical play and resistance.
Yeah, that incident officially crossed the threshold into critical risk.
And it triggered a formal police notification, didn't it?
It had to, because the moment an unauthorized individual is physically manipulating the locks or testing the weight-bearing capacity of the wall handholds, the reconnaissance phase has ended.
The execution phase is beginning.
Exactly. They have crossed from observation into pre-breach preparation.
So we've mapped this entire threat cycle. We've traced the timeline from the fake delivery drivers timing the gates to the joggers hiding their faces from cameras.
To the coordinated street distractions.
Right, all the way to the aggressive gate rattlers. The vital question now is, how do we use this? How does this intelligence actually get applied to harden a property?
Well, the dossier provides highly specific recommendations based on countering these precise behaviors. The foundational principle is reducing visual exposure.
Because if 84.1% of surveillance involves window peering and internal mapping, the primary countermeasure is securing ground floor windows.
And ensuring that vehicle gates, even when fully open, do not provide clear, straight-line views into the internal operations of the compound.
You have to engineer the environment so they can't see what they want to see, effectively starving them of the intelligence they need.
Exactly. Block the internal views. Another major operational recommendation is breaking predictability.
Break predictability.
Since the data conclusively proves they're exploiting the 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. rush and timing mechanical gate cycles, residents are advised to vary their entry and exit routines whenever practically possible to disrupt that pattern building.
Okay, that makes sense. And the administrative response documented in this dossier shows that rigorously tracking this actually works.
It does.
Because 100% of the 78 responses logged included attached CCTV evidence, video snippets, or high-resolution screenshots. They didn't just write down, saw a suspicious guy.
They saved the tape.
Exactly.
And 96.2% of those events were saved to a centralized historical archive.
Which is huge.
It is, because retaining that data isn't just about saving video. It's about tagging metadata.
Give me an example.
If the system tags a male with a blue cap riding a TN75 motorcycle at 17.30, and that same profile appears 2 weeks later at a 06.0 without delivering anything, the system red flags the deviation.
You connect the dots over time.
Yes. And when the behavior escalated, as it did during the April 13th and 24th incidents, the security team didn't just have a single trespassing event to report.
They had a deeply documented chronological pattern of hostile reconnaissance ready to hand over to the police.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean? It means real security isn't about reacting to an intrusion when the window finally breaks. It's about spotting the pattern beforehand.
It's about recognizing the surveillance while it's still operating in that seemingly benign medium risk phase.
Which requires a total paradigm shift in how we observe our surroundings, doesn't it?
We have to stop viewing our urban environment as just passive background noise. We need to start recognizing that to a threat actor, the street outside your home is a data-rich environment that they are actively parsing and exploiting.
It really makes you look at your own front yard differently.
It should.
I want to leave you with this thought. Next time you look out your window during that busy 5 p.m. commuter rush, and you see a jogger pause to stretch near your driveway.
Or a delivery driver lingering on their phone just a little too long.
Ask yourself,
Yeah.
are they just background noise in your daily landscape? Or are they actively mapping your routine?